This is the keyboard from an Apple IIc computer that I'm working on restoring. When I got the computer fired up, I noticed that some of these keys were not working very well, and I had a few of them that were not working at all. So the first thing I tried to do was use some of this contact cleaner and just get down in here and sprayed it inside the keys. Did that several times and it still didn't make any difference. The same keys weren't working. I did have one key that I think was broken. You could press it and it would stick, and it just didn't feel quite right, so I knew that one was going to need to be replaced. So when I did that, I was able to take the old one apart, show you what's inside there. So these are the parts that were inside the key. So when you press down on this plunger here for the key, you would press on this little metal tab, which would press a little plastic tab on this side plate, and this is the plate where the connections are made. I'm going to go ahead and flip this over here so you can see the other side. So on the other side, you got the metal plates here, just copper plates. I'm going to take this one off. Now I did open this up. When I took it apart, you can see these plastic pieces broke. It was pretty brittle inside. So taking this apart like this to clean everyone is not going to be practical. But if you look inside here, you've got two different bands. This one here is the one that's pressed on by the plastic tab on the other side, and then it makes contact to this little button on this other plate. And they're separated by, you can't see it, but a little clear plastic piece inside here. See if I can get this lifted up. So they're separated by this little piece here, which keeps them apart until you push the key down, and then this band will make contact with this band connecting the circuit. So the problem's got to be inside here is either tarnished or dirty, and getting in here to clean this just by spraying the cleaner in there is not going to work very well. So I think what it needs to happen is to soak it in something. So the best way to do that, I believe, is to take the keys out and do them individually. Before I show you how to remove the keys, I want to show you what I did to test them. So I've got my multimeter here. I've got a tweezer test probe. So right now it's set up. When I complete the circuit, I'll get a tone. So on the back of the keyboard, you'll notice all the solder connections. If you look directly across from each key, you'll find a pair of pins that correspond to that key. So I've got one here that I know is working. So I'll put the probe on the back side. There's no connection there. If I can get this in the frame so you can see it. So connecting the circuit on the back, when I push the key in. So each time that one's got a completed circuit. So that is a key I know is working. So then I'll go to one here I know is not working, which is this one. And I'll make the connection on the back side here, which would be these two. As I press the key in, I get nothing. So that tells me that it's the key itself that's not working, and not a problem with the circuit board or the wiring itself. And you can do that with all the keys if you've got some that are questionable whether they're working correctly or not. So next I'll show you how to actually remove the key. So the first thing you need to do to remove one of these keys is to desolder the pins from the back side. So you're going to need a decent soldering iron with a very small tip, and then you'll also need a desoldering tool, which is something along this lines. This has a plunger on the back side that you push in. It's spring loaded, and then you push this button while you've got the tip down on whatever you're trying to desolder, and when it retracts it acts like a little vacuum and it sucks the molten solder off of there. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do one here. So I've got it liquefied, put that over there, and it removed the solder off of there. So reset it, do the other one. I don't know if you can see that, but it, if I get the camera in here a little closer. So that removed the solder from around those pins. So just to be sure, I'm going to make sure they're nice and straight and loose. So then the next thing you'll need to do is on the other side. So the one I'm removing is this one. Then you'll need to take a thin bladed tool and just get in on each side of it. And that'll pop it loose. So you can see the pins are on the bottom of each of the keys. So not a whole lot to taking these out. This is one I tested. I know this one needs to be cleaned. So I'm going to go ahead and remove a few of these here. Then I'll show you what I'm going to do to clean them. Before I get into showing you what I'm going to do for a cleaning process, I just wanted to give you another way to verify that your keys have issues. So what I have here, this is one of the keys that I removed. I know this key was not working at all, and so I'm going to test the leads here. Push the button in, and you can see it by the meter. There's absolutely no response. So I have another key I removed. This one was partially working. Occasionally I would get it to produce the letter that it was supposed to. If I press this one, so you can see a partial response on the meter. It gets a momentary reading. Not enough to, there it's actually set it off once. So that tells me that this one is also needs to be cleaned, and that makes me concerned that all of the other ones on the keyboard might be getting close to needing to be removed and cleaned. So that'll be a decision you'd have to make on your own, whether you want to just do them all or not. But next I'll set up and show you what I'm going to do for the cleaning process. So the one key that I was able to take apart, when I got inside of it, I noticed that the little copper contacts were corroded. They were tarnished green. And so I'm pretty sure that that's what's causing the problem. Because they're so close together, you're not able to spray anything inside and get it to rinse that out of there. So what I'm going to do is take this tarnish remover. Let's see the brand. There's several brands out there. There's nothing special about this brand. Just happens to be the one I'm going to try. And then I'm going to take a little container of it and actually take the key and let it soak in there for a while. Now this one, if you can see the little silver dot on the back, I took a little silver paint pen and marked the key that was kind of giving me a partial reading. That way we can just kind of track and see how that goes through, if it gets any better or not. So I'm going to dip this in the tarnish remover, and I'm going to tip it so that the key is up. That way let all the air out. Press it a few times, try and get, if you can see the bubbles coming through. And then this is the other key. I'll dip that in there, do the same thing. Get the bubbles, get the air out of it. That way I know the remover is down inside of it and actually getting to where it needs to be. So get as much air out of there as you can. And then I'm just going to let these sit in here and soak for several minutes just to be sure that that everything has gotten to where it needs to be. So then we'll come back and I'll show you what the next step is. Before I move on to the next step, I wanted to show you this thing. I had to put some cardboard behind it to make it a little easier to see. But this is the plastic spacer that's between the two contact plates inside the key switch. Now if you notice, there's a little slit on this side right here. So what that's doing is, as you press the key, it moves the two contact plates together, which means air has to escape from between them, and then when you let off the key, air has to get back in. So that little slit has got to be to let air in and out. So in doing that, when you have the key switch submerged under that tarnish remover, you're going to want to make sure you're pressing the key under there several times to pump air out and pump the tarnish remover in between those two plates. If you don't do that, it's just going to have air in there and it's not going to do any good. So the instructions with that tarnish remover were to rinse it as soon as you were done. So what I did is I took the key up to the sink and just rinsed them really well in just tap water. But tap water and electronics don't get along very well. So what I've got here is a jewelry cleaner, and I have it filled with distilled water, and I have the keys in there submerged. And like I said before, what you want to do is just make sure you press them several times to get, first you're trying to get the air out, then I was trying to get the tarnish remover out, so now I'm trying to get the tap water out from between those two contact plates. You could put the tarnish remover in the jewelry cleaner, but this one's large enough that I think it would have taken that entire bottle to fill it, and then you got to dump it out and rinse it and then put water in and so on. So I'm going to just try the way I've done it. So we'll use this to, one, it should help clean those contact plates a little better, and the other plan would be to try and get the tap water to be dispersed. So I've got this running. Again, there's distilled water in there. I'm going to run this several times. In between each cycle, I'm going to make sure I'm depressing that plunger just to try and pump out any tap water that might still be in there and replace it with the distilled water, and we should be able to get this nice and clean. Okay, so I finished several cycles with the distilled water. I did want to mention that in between each of these steps, after the tap water and after the distilled water, I took these out to the garage and blew a little compressed air in there to try and blow out any excess, and all the while making sure that we're running the plunger in and out to try and pump anything out from between those plates. So now what I've got inside the jewelry cleaner is isopropyl alcohol. The purpose of this would be to displace any of that distilled water, and then the alcohol, it evaporates a lot more quickly. So in the end, what you want is to have these be perfectly dry and clean inside. So we'll go ahead and plunge these a few times. Try and draw some of that alcohol in between those two plates. Okay, so go ahead and close that up, and so now I'll run it a few cycles with the alcohol, and be back to show you the next step after that. We'll test them when this is done after I get them dried up. Okay, so I finished with the jewelry cleaner, took the keys out and used the compressed air and got them dried out on the inside. I've let them sit for a while, just make sure that they are completely liquid free. So now I'm going to come back here and test them again. One thing I can verify is the cleaning did erase the silver dot from the back of the one. I'm guessing the alcohol probably did that. Should have thought of that ahead of time. So I don't know which one is which anymore, but we'll test them both. So here we've got it hooked up. And it's every time I push it, it's making contact. So we'll do the other one quick. it's the same thing. So it's much improvement over what it was. I'm going to change the way this is working here. I'm just going to check for resistance. So I'll show you when I close the contacts on this. There must be a little resistance in the probe. It's 0.6, 0.5 ohms. So that's about the best I can get out of it. It doesn't go quite to 0. But if I test these with that same way, press it in and hold it. So 0.5 on that one. So that's basically perfect continuity. And then we'll do that with the other one. Oops. Press it in and I get on this one 0.4, 0.5 as well. So that tells me we got them clean. So what I did here, you might be thinking was a little overkill, but I do have them working as well as I can. They are nice and clean on the inside. I get good continuity through them. So I think that's the way I'm gonna continue with the rest of them. If you like the video, give me a like on it and go ahead and follow me, and I will continue to make more of these. Thanks for watching.